The Bleep Test. It's used by organisations around the world, the police, the military, schools, any organisation that wants to measure the physical fitness of their participants. It's one of the best ways to measure the physical fitness of a whole group of people all at once. But how accurate is it? And is it reliable?
All right, aerobic capacity is a measure of oxidative metabolism, which basically translates as your body's ability to use oxygen during exercise. And as a result, it's a really great sort of indicator of fitness as it actually addresses all of your body's systems, including cardiac, pulmonary, vascular, and the musculoskeletal systems.
Yes, if you want to know how fit you are, as in an actual number, then VO2 max is as close as you'll get to that. Now, that number is fairly unimportant when, say, training for a triathlon, because the race itself is kind of the fitness test. But for the general population, this can be a really good way of comparing. Say we've got a number of people applying to be police officers, for example. So to get that number, you have a few options.
Yeah, you've got the gold standard where you do a test where you push yourself until exhaustion. And for that, you're going to be measuring the amount of oxygen that your body is actually taking in. So you'd need an oxygen mask and some fancy kit in a lab. You've also got something at the other end of the spectrum where if you know your resting heart rate and your maximum heart rate, you can do a very sort of estimated calculation using the Österreinen-Overgaard-Pedersen formula. So you take your maximum heart rate, you divide it by your resting heart rate, and you times all of that by 15.3.
But to get access to a lab, as we all know, isn't easy, especially if there's a crowd of you, and measuring your maximum heart rate is very difficult indeed. You can, of course, estimate this to a degree, but that is, of course, more or less just a guess. So enter the Bleep Test, or Beep Test, or multi-stage fitness test, or progressive aerobic cardiovascular endurance run pacer test, or the 20-metre shuttle run. I think we'll just call it the Bleep Test for today. Are you ready, James? So James, Heather and I are actually going to do one now. Here comes the first beep, go! So the Bleep Test is a running test used to estimate an athlete's aerobic capacity, or VO2 max. The test requires participants to run 20 metres back and forth across a marked track, keeping time with beeps. Every minute or so, the next level commences. The time gap between gets shorter, participants therefore must run faster. If a participant fails to reach the relevant marker in the time, they are cautioned. A second caution ends the test for that runner. The number of shuttles completed successfully is recorded as the score of that runner. The score is then compared to the norms for age or converted to an estimated VO2 max using a formula.
Okay, so Bleep Test done and survived just. So how did it go, Mark?
It was good. Long time since I've done that. Maybe next time we'll choose a solid surface rather than grass.
Yeah, it was a bit slippery.
You look like you're enjoying it though.
It was fun. It was cool. I got to 14.7 level wise. and that technically gives me a VO2 max of 62.5.
Solid.
Which is good. I think I might be around that area. If not, I've been coming off quite a lot of running lately. I think I might have been a little bit higher, but maybe that's just me hoping.
I think we're all a bit like that, aren't we? I must admit that those targets as we were going were like my mental targets. So once I got to like the last one of becoming a special forces in Australia or something like that, I was like, okay, mentally that'll do. Got to 11.1, so quite happy with that, and it converts to a 50.6, which I feel is actually. I mean, if I was 49 something, I'd say no, it's definitely not true. But yeah, maybe that's kind of close. Be nice to know.
And I got to level 13.6, which equates to a 58.8 VO2 max, which I'm a little bit disappointed by, considering I only retired from pro triathlon 6 months ago, but it's been a bad 6 months, so it's probably accurate, unfortunately. But there is only one way to actually find out whether this was accurate and how much the slippery surface cost us, and that's to go into the lab and do an actual VO2 max test. So that's what we're going to do.
Two, one, good work, mate. Wow, a big day in the lab.
Yeah, VO2 max tests are no joke, tough.
Yeah, Heather seems to have left us, so we're going to wrap this video up and explain our results in relation to the Bleep test. So first of all, James, do you want to run us through your results?
Yeah, on the Bleep test, I had an estimated VO2 max based on number of shuttles I did of 59.8, so just under 60. In the lab though, with the VO2 max test, with an actual oxygen consumption, I measured nearly 65, so significantly higher. And I'm happy with that because I was not very happy with my result of the Bleep test.
Whereas I got 62.5 from the Bleep test and also matched you, similar on the VO2 in the lab with 65. Heather also got a 50.8 from the shuttle run and she got 55 in the lab. So we're all in that region of around 5%, for yourself a little bit more, from the VO2 test in the lab, which kind of is what we maybe thought prior to the lab test.
I think none of us were particularly well prepared for a Bleep test and the rapid turning around and changing direction. That's really not what we do. I don't think any of our hips or knees were used to that. So perhaps that's the explanation why it was a bit lower.
And a bit higher for you, probably the age, that turning and that sort of...
Yeah, actually, weren't you the one who slipped and fell on your ass? Yeah. Anyway, the point is, it's not that accurate for a triathlete. It's not the kind of thing that a triathlete is training. Maybe a football player would be far more accurate, their lab results versus their Bleep test results.
However, it was consistent.
Yeah, all of us were roughly the same difference between our Bleep test result and our lab result. So it is a pretty good measure of how fit you are at any given time. You can compare yourself to yourself. And it is worthwhile pointing out here that it is a fitness test, which means these numbers are going to move. Where our VO2 maxes currently are is not necessarily where they're going to be if we don't train for the next 6 months, or if we do train for the next 6 months as I plan to. I definitely plan for my VO2 max to go up rather than any further down.
But as you say, I mean, it is consistent. So if you're testing a general population and getting a load of people in a room at once, it's pretty good. It may not be 100% accurate, but it's in the right ballpark.
Absolutely. I don't think it's the most practical fitness test for a triathlete. And like we said at the beginning of this video, that's probably your race is your best fitness test for a triathlete. But if you are interested in finding out how fit you are and comparing yourself to a bunch of other people all at once, 20 minutes doing a bleep test is a pretty accurate way of comparing yourselves.
Yeah, well guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you've got any questions, please drop them down in the comments section down below. But yeah, if you've enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and don't forget to give us a subscribe down below to see more of our videos.